He's a really good horse, exceptionally good looking, and fast.
Lord Nelson is just a picture type. He's got a beautiful neck and shoulder. He's got a nice hip. He's really strong.
Extremely fast. He's very well balanced. This horse is just an incredible fighter. He's mentally tough. His constitution is just iron. He's as tough, I think, as they make horses.
Hi everybody, I'm Dan Illman, this is Nicole Russo, and welcome to Keeneland Babies, presented by Spendthrift, the home of Flat Out, who, as you'll see by the entry card for Wednesday's third race at Keeneland, is represented by two 2-year-olds. The number 6 Infantry, 12-1 on the morning line, the number 11 Big Bruiser, 30-1 on the morning line, and Spendthrift Regional Stallion Awesome Patriot is represented by the number 8 Cool Patriot, 30-1 on the morning line. Nicole, we'll take this field in post position order. It's a big field. Wesley Ward, of course, has 2, and they're probably the ones to beat. But we'll start things off with the number 1 Dalliance. This is a son of hopeful winner Dublin. I look at this pedigree and I think maybe this horse might need some experience.
Yeah, I think so as well. Dublin was, as you mentioned, a Grade 1 winner as a 2-year-old, but he was a big, strapping horse who, honestly, the first time I saw him as a 2-year-old, I didn't believe he was only a juvenile. He tends to throw horses in that mold. They're big horses, they're bulky horses, they're powerful, but they maybe need a race or two to start learning, how their bodies work and how to get their legs under them most effectively.
Only 5% with 2-year-old debut runners is Dublin's success rate. $4,700 yearling Dalliance. There's a gap of about a month in the work tab. That bothers me. The inside post can be a little bit intimidating for these youngsters. And here's a formulator fact for Wayne Rice, who just doesn't win first time out at Keeneland. Past 5 years, 2-year-old firsters in maiden special weight dirt sprints at Keeneland, 0 for 21. That's the number 1 Dalliance at 30-1. The number 2 is Del La Hoya. We saw Del La Hoya on April the 6th. And while he's a foal to 2-year-old debut winner Cala Cab, he did not really run very well in his debut. It was a good learning experience. He took some dirt while saving ground in behind the leaders, but he tired badly, and the way he backed up in the stretch makes me wonder if he bled. Trainer James Chapman adding Lasix for start number 2.
He is adding Lasix, and I also have to wonder if he didn't like, getting some kickback, and if he just kind of backed himself out of it when he began to face adversity. As we've mentioned, a lot of these things can be a little intimidating for these horses first time out. I am going to love this horse when he gets to run about a mile or so on turf. That was really the game for his sire, Courageous Cat. Broodmare sire Street Cry, a very versatile stallion, gets them running on all surfaces. De La Hoya might be one to circle down the line.
Moving on to number 3, Tiz Nijinsky. This is a son of Tiz Way, who sold for $3,500 as a yearling. This is a very strong female family, but Tiz Nijinsky ran 2 weeks ago, and while I thought he broke pretty well, he was completely outsprinted and ended up finishing last. He's going to have to do a lot better on Wednesday.
Yeah, and Tiz Nijinsky is exiting what maybe has the look of a key race. We've talked about the well-regarded Hargis, who won, Odie, who ran second, and third place finisher Indazone leads a number of horses exiting this race. So while Tiz Nijinsky isn't going to have those top 2 to contend with in a spot like this, he is going to have to make a market improvement.
Number 4 is Abyssinian. This is the 8-5 morning line favorite, trained by noted 2-year-old guru Wesley Ward. This is the lone filly in the race by first crop stallion Cairo Prince. And let's talk a little bit about Cairo Prince, because expectations are pretty high.
Yeah, Cairo Prince definitely expected to be among the standouts of a very good group of freshman sires with their first 2-year-olds this year. I've been watching these horses sell commercially for a couple of years now, and the general consensus from the bloodstock community has just been that these horses look like athletes. They sold well as weanlings. They sold even better as yearlings. He was really a breakout stallion throughout last summer and fall at the sales, doing pretty well at the 2-year-old sale season, which is currently underway. Prince had his first starter at Keeneland last week, getting a look in the paddock. Just really athletes, well-built, nice moving, good-minded, it seems like horses, which is important for the 2-year-olds at this time of year. This one, Abyssinian, out of a nice Tappet mare from a nice breeding program. And, you know, I'm never really worried about fillies facing the boys at this point of the season because some of these fillies just seem to mature faster to where they can match the boys at this point in their development.
I agree with that 100%. This family, as you can see, the dam and second dam, very precocious, very fast. Abyssinian also wowed our clockers. Our clocking team led by Mike Welsh gave this one a B+ on April the 10th for a gate workout. Expect Abyssinian to be fast. That being said, of the Ward duo, I prefer the number 5 Stage Left. And while Stage Left only sold for $15,000 as a yearling, he's a half to Midnight Basoo, who's going to be one of the favorites for the Kentucky Oaks and the winner of this year's Santa Anita Oaks. The dam wanted to go long, a Grade 3 stakes winner going 2 turns with an 84 Beyer speed figure, but Stage Left to me has just about everything. He's got pedigree being a half to Midnight Basoo. He's got the trainer with Wesley Ward, and if you look at some of these workouts, perhaps they match up with Chelsea Cloisters, who was a dominant debut winner for Ward earlier this meet. I think Stage Left's going to be real tough on Wednesday.
Yeah, Chelsea Cloisters, just a powerhouse debut winner. This one's Stage Left. You mentioned the low yearling sale price, but I wouldn't be too worried that the stock of this family has risen exponentially as Midnight Basoo has run through the fall and winter and spring now headed into the Oaks. And congrats, an AP Indy Stallion. Congrats, kind of sneaky good with his 2-year-olds. Has had a number of Grade 1 winning 2-year-olds even, was I believe the leading freshman sire of his year. So Stage Left, yeah, has a little bit of everything on this page.
The number 6 is Infantry, this one by Spendthrift Stallion Flat Out, a very hearty female family. The dam won 14 times. She a full sister to the multiple stakes placed Iowa-bred sprinter Voodooville. Infantry ran on April the 6th, and I thought he kind of passed a couple of tired horses. He was a little bit green. It took him a long time to change leads. He'll benefit from the effort. This still might be a little bit too tough.
Yeah, but you know, I do like this one a little bit, say an Exotics, perhaps behind the Ward duo. Had a little bit of a troubled break on that, you know, on that debut, kind of brushed the gate a little coming out. As you mentioned, took a bit to change leads and kind of, you know, was coming out a little bit late, figuring it out. I do expect this one to take a nice step forward. And, you know, Flat Out was a freshman sire last year. I really expected his runners to get better as the year went on, but they surprised me by really coming out running at the Keeneland meet last year, perhaps inheriting some of that speed that their sire showed, winning races like the Cigar Mile. So Flat Out, you know, kind of a sneaky good, I thought, 2-year-old sire.
We always mention the old racetrack phrase, watch the board, in terms of these 2-year-old races full of first-time starters. And the number 7 Indazone was bet down to 4-1 into the teeth of the 2 Ward-trained runners, Hargis and Odie. And you can tell that Indazone, who has a nice sprint pedigree, the dam a half to Aconite, was live. He broke very, very well. The 2 Wards were just a little bit faster. Indazone tried hard. He was very late to change leads in the stretch, but he ran a good, solid third. My concern is that trainer John Hancock usually revs them up first time out, and if you go into Formulator and look at the second time out stats, they're not as good. Perhaps they regress by bouncing a bit in start number 2, and that's the concern here for me at 7-2 on the line.
Yeah, you do have to wonder if this one is a bounce candidate, but as we said, Hargis and Odie, two of the most, I think, hyped horses that we've seen coming into this meet. Indazone ran very well behind the 2 of them. It maybe isn't facing anything, you know, to the quality of Hargis here, although this is a well-matched field. As you mentioned, it's a nice sprint pedigree, a nice 2-year-old pedigree being by the very good sire. Yes, it's true.
The number 8 is Cool Patriot by Spendthrift Regional Stallion Awesome Patriot. This is the family of a Grade 3 stakes place dirt sprinter in Trendy Lady. I see some slow workouts leading to the debut, and I wonder if this is just going to be sort of an experience builder for down the road.
Yeah, this is a horse that I think is going to be better down the road. That being said, Awesome Patriot, another one who came out firing with those 2-year-olds at the Keeneland meet last year. Sire's kind of early type horses.
The number 9 is 2-Bit Kid. Two Bit Kid is by Stay Thirsty, and I liked what this horse did in his debut in the Hargest Odie race. He was pinched at the start. He was last after the opening furlong. He made a long 4-wide bid on the far turn, and then he steadied onto his wrong lead late when another horse drifted in front of him. He was running at the end of that race. Now maybe he wants a little bit more ground, and he's going to have to deal with 4.5 furlongs again, but I think Two Bit Kid is a little bit live, at least for the bottom of single race exotic wagers.
Yeah, I think Two Bit Kid is definitely going to improve with some distance. Stay Thirsty was a very good 2-year-old himself, but I think his runners do want to run a little bit longer, will do better with some races under their belt. Two Bit Kid definitely a candidate to improve a bit off a good learning experience in his first out in a tough race. And Broodmare sire Not for Love stood his whole career in Maryland, so maybe some people don't talk about him as much, but he's a national level broodmare sire with runners like California Chrome on his resume in that regard.
The number 10 Baytown Glory has a really solid and versatile pedigree. He's by Morning Line, who I think won the Carter handicap, but it could also go long. And Morning Line has gotten off to a great start with his 2-year-old debut runners, 6 winners from 28 starters. If you look at the bottom of this family, a lot of distance ability with horses like Fairbanks and Keats. This horse wasn't very well received at the sales, but shows a couple of bullet workouts at the Thoroughbred Center.
Yeah, and very interesting that there's so much distance in this female family, because of course you see Song and a Prayer, the broodmare sire, right there, and you remember him as just a crack, super fast horse. Went out and ran such a fast opening half in the Derby his year. Morning Line, the Carter winner on top. This one is going to strike me as sort of a middle distance type of horse, balancing out that pedigree.
Big Bruiser, the number 11, is the second by Flat Out in this field. A $2,200 yearling. Flat Out does well with his 2-year-old debut starters, winning 15% of the time. But as we look at the bottom of this pedigree, we see a lot of route ability, and I do not see a published workout in the last 15 days. I'm going to keep an eye on Big Bruiser for when he eventually stretches out, perhaps in the summer and fall.
Yeah, of the 2 flat outs in this race, I definitely prefer the other one. You mentioned the long gap since April 10th between published works. Before that, his most recent published work came on March 20th. It was a bullet, but kind of some odd little gaps in the history here.
U.S. Warrior is the last horse in the body of this field. There are 4 also eligibles. This one is by Majestic Warrior. The Dam One Routing, a 60-buyer top on the turf. Family of Victory Speech, another horse that wanted to go long. Looks like this horse came out of the gate on April the 13th with the Barnes Tap His Dream, who was pretty well beaten earlier in the meet. U.S. Warrior, a look of a long shot, but again, a horse that might benefit from the experience and more distance down the road.
Very much so, and I'm going to circle this one as another kind of intriguing turf candidate. Majestic Warrior, from a family that's produced some turf horses, has done okay on turf himself. Now standing internationally, he's certainly been, well received by, kind of people looking to breed a versatile horse. And the Dam Wendy's Joy by, of course, turf champion and stalwart turf sire Kitten's Joy.
We kick off the Pick 6 at Keeneland on Wednesday with race number 3, our Keeneland Baby Race. Nicole, who's your top pick? How are you playing the race?
I really can't look past the 2 Wesley Wards here, and of the 2, I think I prefer Abyssinian. As I said, I'm not concerned at all about a filly facing the Colts at this point of the year. I really, really like what I've seen from the Cairo Princes. I think they're going to run well in the hands of someone like Wesley Ward. I think they have the ability to run early. Cairo Prince himself showed 2-year-old form. They have really good minds, which I think is also important at this stage with kind of a lot going on as these horses get experience. And, behind the 2 Ward horses, I think I might look at 2 Bit Kid, who's coming off what I thought was a really good learning experience, running 4th in the Hargest Maiden. Can't ignore Indazone, but as we've mentioned, I think that one's a bit of a candidate to bounce.
We have the same idea, but different horses. Both Wesley Ward are our top selections. I'm going to go with Stage Left, though, the 5, the half to midnight Sue. I'm just intrigued by those workouts with Chelsea Cloisters, and that horse just wowed me earlier this meet. If Stage Left can keep up with that one in the morning, maybe he can run just a little bit. Underneath, boy, you know, the 10 Baytown Glory's got an interesting pedigree. Morning Line's gotten off to a good start as a debut stallion, a lot of class on the bottom. Maybe we could sneak that one in at 15-1 underneath. Other underneath candidates, Into Zone, the 7, logical off that debut against the 2 Ward horses. And I'm with you about 2-Bit Kid. The trouble in the debut, I want to be using that horse in some sort of single race exotics. I'll try to beat Abyssinian. Maybe it's foolish to beat Wesley Ward with the filly in that race. 5-10-7-9 for me. Nicole's keying on the 2 Wards, but she likes Abyssinian and she likes Cairo Prince. And we like this race. Keeneland's Wednesday's Keeneland Baby Race presented by Spendthrift. And we'll be back tomorrow because we've got 2 on Thursday. We'll see you then.